whatever we cooked, unless it was a squirrel or a mouse, whatever we cooked, it was boiled. Because we wanted to preserve whatever nutrients, whatever fats were in the animal, or crabs or snails. I ate some slugs.
Are they chewy?
They were gooey.
Gooey.
They
Okay.
weren't really chewy. They were gooey. And no one else on my team would eat them.
I would just swallow, I think.
Tara,
What's up?
we got a winner in here today.
We have a big winner.
We interview winners, but this is a bona fide winner. Drake Vliem from Netflix Outlast Season 2. Drake, thanks for coming in today, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having
We
me.
really appreciate you, man. We were so excited. We're big reality show fans. We're big Outlast fans. And when we saw the first episode and guy from Midland was going to be there, we were tuned in, dude. We were watching the final episodes the other night.
I cried.
She cried.
I was
Very
so
much
happy
cried.
for
We
you.
were very much pacing, going
Me
like,
and my wife cried when we watched the last 2 episodes, and I knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
exactly right.
I still cried.
So thanks again for coming in, man. We just want to hear like the whole journey of how you and Drew, the Texas connection is what I like to call you, winning that $1 million prize. So how did you get on the show? Like, how did that become a thing?
Man, so I just I watched season 1, and I was like, dude, like, I feel like I have more skills than a lot of people in the world, and I've always enjoyed, you know, the survival aspect and the outdoor aspect. You know, I've done a lot of crazy outdoor adventures where, you know, backpacking through the mountains and really tested my body out. And
Okay.
I was like, you know what, I can do this. And granted, from the comfort of my couch, I was talking a whole bunch of stuff like, oh, I can do this. I'm better than this. And so I sent in an application, and they ended up giving me a call, and I went through the whole pretty much a quote unquote hiring process,
Okay.
and a bunch of different interviews, and sending in clips of myself doing outdoor stuff. And
Oh, so you
Kind-
had to do like a whole show them that you could build a fire
Yep,
or
yep.
use a bow and arrow and things
yeah,
like
you
that.
kind of really have to like prove yourself
Okay.
to be able to do it. You know, it's just not just anybody can go out there and do it, because then you don't become an asset to the show. You become a liability.
I got the sense of that because you see a lot of these, obviously different shows, but I mean, Outlast specifically, you know, you got the people who are like, oh, I'm a primitive, you know, hunter, and all these different aspects and all these different, you know, all these different experiences, where I'm sitting there going like, what about podcast host? You know what I mean? I think podcast host on there probably wouldn't last a day, but
No, you wouldn't.
yeah. Consider I've never hunted. So were you like familiar with like going up to Alaska or going off to different hunting trips or something? Like how did you start to prepare once you knew you were going to be on?
So once I knew I was going to be on, I went on what I like to call an everything diet. And it was just eat everything that I could possibly eat until my stomach hurt every day. And, you know, I usually sit about 245, 250 pounds.
Okay.
When I hit the woods in Alaska, I was 298.
Wow.
Whoa. Yeah.
So-
I mean, even seeing you on the show, I was like, you were towering over people. I was like, this is a big guy. I mean, when we met downstairs, I was like, okay, yeah, this wasn't CGI Marvel effects.
Yeah.
This guy's Thor, okay, essentially in the woods. The whole thing about these types of shows is like you'll see people are like, I'm shrinking. Like, how much weight did you lose?
I lost 52 pounds in 32 days.
Wow.
Almost 2 pounds a day. That's
And it was flying off me fast. I'm glad, you know, I am a big guy. I stand 6'7".
Dang.
yeah, he's
and
big.
I carry weight pretty well.
Sure.
Yeah, you
So-
definitely didn't look like you were 290 pounds.
Yeah.
in the
When the
beginning.
show started, and I even told Drew, I was like, dude, I came out here like way heavier than I've ever been in my life. And I did it on purpose because I knew we could be out there we were out there for an undisclosed amount of time is what we were
Okay.
told.
Okay, so they don't tell. This is like it's 50 days or
And
whoever
that-
drops first.
And that's a mind game in itself.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, you every single day, you know, especially after you're out there for a month, you're like, oh man, like how long are these people really gonna like stay here? Like,
Yeah.
and in my head, I told myself, I'm gonna spend Christmas here,
Wow.
and which would have been 3 months.
Do they put you through any sort of like school or something? Like,
Like survival skills?
yeah, like
No.
in terms of like going like, these are the plants you shouldn't eat, or these are the ones you might want to look after,
Nope.
or hey, there's going to be bears and stuff.
I mean, yeah, we had a safety orientation, you know,
Okay.
just like because we have to make sure everybody's safe as well. I mean,
Sure.
it is a TV show, but
Yeah, it's not a good look if somebody gets eaten by wolves or something. You know what I mean?
right,
Like,
but it was a possibility.
when
mean,
I
we
heard
had-
wolves, I was like,
We had wolves in our camp many nights, and you know they were close enough. I was throwing rocks at them at night to get them to get away from our camp.
Wow.
that's scary. Did you have like, so obviously, you know, it's a reality show, it's a competition. It's not just the four of you the whole time. There's camera people, and were there any sort of like park rangers?
At night, it was just the four of us.
Wow.
There was
Okay.
no camera crews at night. We filmed ourselves at night.
Okay. You had like GoPros or something?
Yep.
Okay. How long from the time that you knew that you were accepted to go on the show to where you were dropping off in Alaska?
Like 5 weeks.
Okay. Oh,
I
that's
I mean,
fast.
it wasn't a whole lot of preparation. You know, as you go through the interviewing process and stuff, as you're trying to get on the show, you have stages of the process,
Okay.
and you know it's like a 5-stage process. And once you get to like stage 4, you kind of get this feeling of like, hey, like this really might happen for me.
Right.
I might want to start preparing.
Right.
That's
right.
when I went on my everything diet.
Okay. What do you typically eat? Like, what's your go-to meals?
So I'm
Beef up.
my wife is a super healthy cooker.
Okay.
We don't really eat. We do no candy in the house, no soda in the house. Once I went on my diet, I told my wife, I was like, you're gonna have to start baking. Like I need some cookies, I need some pie, some peach cobbler.
I feel like I've been
And-
preparing for this show for a few years now. Unfortunately, I'm just waiting to hear back, I guess. I actually still need to apply, so that's a weird thing.
Send in the applications.
When they're dropping you off, they're taking you on the boat. Are they like, because it looked like everybody was like, I'm not talking to these people.
They weren't allowed to talk to each other.
Were you allowed to like
Nope.
strategize at all?
Nope, you're not allowed to talk, and that's part of the game. You know,
Okay.
it kind of gets in your head, and it gets in everybody else's head. Before we divide up in teams, all you can do is judge a book off its cover, which, and most people really don't like to do.
Yeah.
You know, I
Sure.
dang sure don't like to look at someone and be judgy. You know, but in that situation, that's all you had to do. That's all you could do. So you make all these assumptions about people that are on the boat with you.
Yeah, you don't know their background. You
Yep.
don't know their expertise. You don't know
Yep.
if,
You don't even know what their voice sounds like because none of us
Mhm.
spoke. And we just sat there in silence, getting rained on.
Wow.
yeah, there's a lot of rain.
There was
So-
only 2 days we were out there that we didn't get rained on.
What could you bring?
The clothes on your back.
Okay.
So
Seriously.
what you wore on launch day
Yeah.
was what you had the whole time.
Okay.
So if your socks got wet, you're screwed. You just have to rely on like a fire to
Yep.
dry them out.
Make a fire and dry them out.
Man, they're not messing around.
Oh, I bet they stink, huh?
All my clothes just smelled like smoke. Like, so the way we did it in our shelter is, you know, we built the wiki up, the old wizard hat, but that wizard hat was huge. It was 15 foot at the base and
Wow.
14 feet tall. So I built like a spider web at the top with roots and
Okay.
branches and stuff. We made like a spider web at the top where all the smoke gathered before it exited out the shelter, and we would hang all of our clothes up
That was
there
your clothesline,
Uh-huh.
essentially.
and let them smoke overnight. And
Smart.
weirdly, none of my clothes, when I came out of the woods, none of my clothes smelled like sweat or, you know, body odor at all.
Yeah.
It all smelled like smoke.
Just nature.
And I still have them all. I kept
Oh,
all
great.
my clothes. I mean, I might threw away like the underwear and socks, but like my pants and my jackets and my hat and all that stuff, I still have it. And it's in a closet in my house. And you open that closet in my house, and my whole house will smell like a campfire.
I would be like putting on like 5 pairs of underwear, like 3 pairs of socks.
That's what most people. Most people showed up fairly prepared. You know, a couple pairs of underwear on, a couple pairs of socks on,
Smart.
and then as soon as we get in the woods, you strip it all off.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because once you start sweating, and then it drops below freezing at night, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So let's talk like strategy wise in terms of like, you obviously watched season 1. When we watched season 1, essentially the rules were there aren't any. You can
Yep.
go to another camp and steal their stuff. And so like, how much internal strategizing were you doing, or you were taking into consideration based on season 1?
So really, I really had to prepare my mind for like foul play,
Okay.
you know, and I'm not one for foul play, and I've never taken it very well either. I
Mhm.
usually am real quick to stand up for myself and defend myself physically, clearly.
Yeah.
I've always used my stature to defend myself. But in this situation, you do have to abide by laws.
Yeah.
You are still in the United States.
Right. You can assault people and things like
Right.
that, but everything.
Right.
Okay.
So you just preparation wise, you just have to talk to yourself in the head of like, okay, if something like that does happen to me, I need to make sure I stay level headed, I stay calm, figure out a way to get it back.
Mm-hmm.
The first episode of your season, I mean, what was it name? Bio?
Yep.
Yeah.
Bio Trapper
Trapper
Bio.
from Florida, right? I text you and I was like, oh, they're going hard from episode 1, man.
Right off the rip.
He went right to your camp and just stole your water cans, right?
Yep.
And again, I understand there's editing and things like that, but from what I took from it, and I was telling Tara, I go, I don't think Drake was aware of it until later.
I didn't see it happen, but
Okay.
I was called back up to camp by one of my teammates. I heard her hollering, hey, Drake, come up to camp. They're stealing our stuff. So I got to moving pretty quick, making my way back to camp. And then when I got there, Drew had already been talking to Bio, and they were arguing back and forth, and Bio was already making his way back down to the beach to make his way back.
Yeah,
to
I
his
thought he
campsite.
was making a pretty quick exit.
Yeah,
I just loved how like Bio's teammates were like, bro, like that's not cool. Why did you do that? Because after season 1, with all the shenanigans of that, like it was just refreshing to see people be like, that's not the game we want to play. Like
right.
it's already going to be hard enough.
And that was something that I was super grateful for. I went out there expecting a bunch of shitty play to be
Yeah.
done, and people being just terrible people to each other. And that wasn't the case. And I'm grateful for it that everyone that
Yeah.
went out there was literally there just to test themselves and see what they were capable of, how long we could make it, but also be fair
Mhm.
Right.
and not sabotage other people. And the one person that did do it ended up being the first person flaring out.
Like, yes, you want that like controversy, but at the end of the day, like if it's just 8 episodes of people being terrible to one another, you know what I mean? That's going to take
Right.
its toll on the audience. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so
season 1 was fairly successful, and that's why season 2 was announced and they casted for season 2.
sure.
But they really, people love to hate drama. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? They're like, oh, I don't like drama yet, but you really like to watch it
Sure.
on TV. I mean, it makes good TV.
People like a villain, and I think that guy took it upon himself to basically go like, well, this is the game, right?
Right.
But it was honestly refreshing to see his teammates go like, nah, dude, like we're not playing that way, and you got to go. So
Right.
I think with your squad, it was very refreshing too because you weren't just looking for, well, okay, well, let's add another person, or let's add another person, let's add another person. I think you guys were very content to go through with the same 4. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Barring any sort of injury or anything, right?
Right.
To go through
that was our goal from the get-go is, it's just going to be us 4 no matter what. We're not taking anyone else in. Hopefully we don't lose anybody.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, hopefully it's the 4 of us and we all get $250,000 apiece. And it didn't work out that way. Emily ended up getting stuck out on a raft and she got sucked out to sea.
That was
And
heartbreaking to watch.
We watched her get further and further and further away until you couldn't see her anymore.
How
Yeah.
good would those crab apples have been to have though?
They were good. It was like just the sugar intake that you get from fruit.
Yeah.
We were eating seaweed and mushrooms and crabs, shell and all, mice, bones and all,
Are you pretty much just foraging and hunting or trying to find food all day?
Yep. So the main 3 aspects that we dealt with every single day was food, water, firewood. That
Okay.
was it. As long as we had the 3 of those, then we could go off and, explore and enjoy the countryside because it was a beautiful place.
Mhm.
And there was a big rock out on our beach that was, probably 12, 14 feet tall. And every day I would climb up on that rock and I would sit there and I would just take it all in and just look at the ocean and look at the mountains in the background. You can see the British Columbian mountains back there all covered in ice and stuff still. It was just, for me, that was my relaxing time of the day where I kind of got to clear my mind and kind of come back to
Mhm.
reality of like, I get to be here,
Yeah.
this
Right.
is awesome. And that's something that Drew and I told each other the whole time we were out there. There was a lot of complaining from other contestants, on other teams, some contestants on my team. Some people just don't do very well, Some people get hangry. I'm not one of those people. I've never gotten hangry in the sense. I'm
You're a
not
good teammate to have then. I'm
I'm
assuming.
not a complainer either. I don't
Sure.
complain about anything. And I kept telling myself, like, man, I get to be here.
Yeah.
That's very cool, man. Yeah, because I think you could find yourself just, second guessing yourself all day,
Right.
or, or just like not pulling your weight, or you're in a situation where you're like, I'm a lucky man,
Yeah.
right? Like we're one of 16 people that get to be here, get to have this experience one way or the other, whether you win the money or not, right? I got the sense where you weren't just always in game mode every single hour of the day.
Oh no.
You know what I mean? And really just going like, man, okay, I might not get to do this ever again in my entire life, so why not make the
Right.
most of it, right? But going back to the food though, just because I want to give people a sense out there of like, okay, if they're used to a plate of food or whatever, like, you know what I mean? Like, what's the realistic sense of like a meal for you guys?
I mean, we did make sure to eat something every day,
Okay.
whether it was, just like we'd boil some seaweed and make tea, or, pull off some hemlock boughs and make some hemlock tea. It was always whatever we cooked, unless it was a squirrel or a mouse, whatever we cooked, it was boiled.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because we wanted to preserve whatever nutrients, whatever fats were in the animal, or crabs or snails. I ate some slugs, big old slugs.
Are they chewy?
They were gooey. They
Gooey,
They
okay.
weren't really chewy. They were gooey, and no one else on my team would eat them. Like
I would just swallow, I think.
Obviously you have to boil the water. You don't want to get sick from the water out there. So you're going to like, okay, we got a little bit of water. We got to boil it. Obviously got to let it cool down. And like, were you just splitting it up?
So I didn't boil water.
Oh no. Okay.
I took the risk. I boiled water the first day we were out there. We all boiled water and drank it.
Okay.
And I got up morning of the second day I was out there, and I went outside to go pee, and my pee was brown. And I was like, okay,
Oh,
my
boy.
body's not going to accept this.
Right.
Yeah.
My body will accept not eating good, but it won't accept not being hydrated.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we ended up finding a water source. Well, I followed it upstream, and I found right where it was coming out of the mountain. Straight,
Wow.
fresh, clean groundwater. And the reason you don't drink stream water is because of a chance of giardia,
Uh-huh.
which is a disease that you get from mammals pooping in the stream upstream, and it just flows down.
Okay.
So once I found it coming out of the ground, I was like, okay, I'm drinking this,
Yeah.
and I'm going to drink it from now on. I'm not going to boil water anymore. Some of my teammates were a little more reluctant to doing that. They didn't want to take the chance of getting sick. I knew that my body wasn't going to hold up if I was continued to boil water. It's not
Yeah,
enough.
because you're like getting rid of all the like nutrients and stuff
It's
in
not
the
enough
water.
water
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
like when they finally dropped the whole, all right, this is a race to the end type of thing. It dropped from the helicopter and you're like in 48 hours, we've got to make a fight for this thing. Like, did you have any sense of like, oh, okay, we're 30 days in. So like, did you have a sense of like, this is happening here sooner than later?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So when that helicopter dropped, that letter that said your journey is going to end in 48 hours. Is this your final team? I had a sense of relief come over me, and I just cried, and I was like, holy crap. Like, I get
did
to
it.
call my wife in 2
Yeah.
days. I get to see my children on, granted, I was still in Alaska. My family was here in Midland,
Sure, of course.
but FaceTime works in
Yeah.
Alaska too. So
Yeah.
I was like, man, I can't wait. Like, it was a weight lifted off my shoulders, and it gave me a big push to be like, okay, spend the next 2 days, quit exerting yourself so much every day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a workhorse. I've been in the oil field since I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm used to working those long 12, 14-hour days, working myself to death. And that's what I did the whole time I was out there.
Yeah.
It was a daily thing, chopping mountains of firewood. I mean, we burned probably 10 cords of firewood while we were
Wow.
there.
Wow.
And we were cutting it with a 16-inch hatchet.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not like we had a chainsaw or a big axe or anything. If
Yeah.
you're using a little bitty hatchet, you're expending a lot of calories to acquire firewood.
How much of the day? Because you would see people just going like, I can't do anything. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're just depleted, right? How much of those days would you be like, listen, I gotta rest for a few hours here, or
Personally, I didn't have one of those
Sure.
days out there. I was probably one of the lesser qualified people on the show as an outdoor experience
Mm-hmm.
and like hands-on experience. Granted, I've studied for years and years of survival and primitiveness, but so I really put it off to my team. Like I was trying to prove myself valuable, and I told them all, I was like, bro, I will be the workhorse. I will carry the big logs. I will move the big rocks. I will build stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So I really stuck with that. I didn't really slow down. My body doesn't do well. Personally, my body doesn't do well when I slow down.
You got to keep
I
going.
get-
You're a machine,
yep,
man.
yep.
Yeah. I felt like in season 1, the teams were almost in contact a lot more, right? So it felt like there was weeks, like you didn't even know what was going on the other side of
Yeah.
the river, right? Like,
So season 1, the campsites were close enough. You know, if you watch season 1, they were tying notes.
right.
You know, they were writing notes and tying them to an arrow and shooting them to the other camp.
Mm-hmm.
Our camps were so far apart, you couldn't hit that camp with the 50 cal sniper rifle. Like it was a half a day walk
Yeah.
just to get to another camp. Like,
Yeah.
we-
Wasn't there a time where you didn't even know that the entire, the other
Oh, yeah,
camp
the
had-
whole other
Yeah,
team
was all
we
gone, right?
We weren't even aware
Yeah.
that they all left.
Are you guys constantly like, I was like, I heard a flare. But I think you guys were like, we didn't even, the entire team was gone? Had no idea.
They
No
was
clue.
busy.
Yeah. Drake was out there pulling
Chopping
trees
wood.
out of the ground. When you finally did get to meet, it was like, who are you strangers again that we haven't seen since day one?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And get to sort of assess. I felt like that guy, Joey, with the long hair, when he took that boat over to your side with you and Drew, I was telling Tara, I go, there's no way that this guy's going to say anything.
Yeah.
Like you guys had gone over and I thought it was a great move. Like you had gone over and going like, so how long you guys want to be here, dude? Because I thought they got a sense of you going like, all right, well, this guy's young. He's huge, strong, clearly healthy. I thought they were definitely second guessing themselves, even though they had 5 people. You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, that and Delta team was thriving as well. You
Yeah.
know,
Mhm.
they were probably eating more than any other team that was out there.
Yeah.
They were blessed with the location that they had.
Okay.
You know, they were on a north facing shore, so they got sunlight every day.
Mm,
Oh,
I was on
okay.
a south facing shore. We got no sunlight
yeah.
ever.
Interesting. Okay.
Like, there's a couple days where the sun might shine right on the water's edge for us and we'd
Mhm.
get some sunlight, but they had a good spot over there, and they also had some really good heads over there. You know, some of the guys on that team were really knowledgeable and really capable of
Mhm.
acquiring food. Drew and I were too. I mean, we killed many squirrels and we ate seafood every single day, which I have not had seafood since I got home
Yeah, I bet. When did you get home? Like when did filming end?
almost a year ago.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of editing that has to go into that. It makes
Yeah.
sense. I mean, had you eaten squirrels before?
Nope.
Will you
But
eat
I
them
have
again?
since. I have
You
since.
have?
Yep. Yep.
You're a connoisseur
Like
now.
it was good?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Some squirrel stew.
What did it taste like?
Squirrel tastes like almost like pork. Like
Oh,
a,
okay.
it has a taste of pork, but the texture of chicken.
Interesting.
But it's still a red meat. You know,
Mhm.
pork is a pink meat, chicken's a white meat, but
Yeah.
squirrel's a red meat. Same thing with mice. Mice, they're so small you didn't really get any taste from it.
It's like
But
popcorn chicken.
yeah,
Like I love mushrooms, but I feel like being out there, I'd be like, I'm good on mushrooms for a while.
that was a staple though.
Yeah.
I mean, it provided us a lot of nutrients. We
Yeah.
ate a lot of mushrooms.
Wasn't there a part where Sammy had a trap and it just flattened a mouse completely?
Yeah.
Did you guys
Yeah.
eat that?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
It's like a pancake.
Oh my
Protein.
god.
I
Big
I
cake.
was amazed. You know, Sammy is a very, very skilled outdoorsman. And when he showed us this mice, it was maybe as thick as 2 quarters stacked
Yeah.
on top of each other.
Yeah.
It was squished flat. And I was like, how the hell are you going to work that around? And somehow Sammy got it skinned and gutted
Wow.
and cooked it, and we ate it. But I
Oh.
was impressed. I was like, oh crap. How did you skin it? I mean, it wasn't even a full grown mouse.
I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, we can make a little taquito out of this or something. All right. Is there anything that or that you were just totally shocked by that you just weren't expecting? You were like, okay, I got to figure this out.
The whole bio thing, you know, that happened fairly quickly after launch day. And that's something that we kind of learned that we had to work around. So from that moment forward, we made sure to keep everything hidden.
Okay.
and only people on my team knew where every one of our items was, whether it be our pot, our hatchet, our bow.
Mm-hmm.
It was always stashed somewhere, just for preparation, really. You know,
Sure.
just in case
Just in
someone
case.
else wanted to play the shitty game.
Mm-hmm.
When Drew went into that water, I mean, how nervous were you that he was either just not going to get to the boat or, you know, like, or end up like Emily and get caught, you know,
Taken
taken
out
out to sea? Yeah.
I wasn't nervous.
Okay.
So Drew and I talked about it before he launched, and the deal was no matter what, he was going to get the boat. I mean, the water was cold, you know, it was like 34 or 35 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're able to push through it mentally, your body will most likely make that trek to the boat and get back to shore before you start convulsing from hypothermia.
Okay.
And so the whole deal was no matter what, make it to the boat. We will handle everything else.
Yeah.
Drew took that trek, which I commend him for, and I'm glad that he did because he acquired us a boat. He was completely prepared to ditch the raft, jump in the water, and just free swim it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of ended up what having to happen. You
Sure.
know, he didn't ditch the raft, but he was soaked. By
Yeah.
the time he got in the boat, he was soaked and he was exhausted. And he got the boat to shore. Sammy and I had a hot sleeping bag ready for him. His extra pair of clothes was hot and warm by the fire. And he stripped down. I mean, y'all saw it on the show. He got butt naked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And got in that sleeping bag. And he was there for a few hours just trying
Okay.
to get his body temperature regulated again.
Yeah.
And we hung all his wet clothes up over the fire and our spider web up top and dried everything out for him. Unfortunately, I don't think his boots ever fully dried out after that
Yeah.
day. Once they got soaked, it was
Sure.
really hard to get them completely dried out.
Yeah.
How worried were you about any sort of like medical scares or something? Because obviously on this show, it's like, if you ask for medical help, you're gone. They made poop a huge part of the show.
It's in many survival shows, it's what takes people out.
Yeah.
You know, you can't pass a bowel movement and you start getting a bunch of obstructions in your intestines and stuff. It's painful and
Yeah.
it will put a person out. It doesn't matter how good you are in the outdoors. If your body can't pass a bowel movement, then you're screwed. So it became a focus
Okay.
fairly quick. You know, once
Yeah.
we were there for, 14, 15 days, we started talking like, hey, who's been able to go poop?
Yeah.
And some of us hadn't, some of us have, some of us had in our pants.
Was that
Okay.
you?
All right. All right. You want to call any names or what's up?
Drew.
Okay.
Day one.
Oh man, day one.
Did he see like a wolf?
Drew was sick.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
When we
On day
started,
one?
yeah, day one,
Dang.
he came down with something. By day 4, he was fine again.
Yeah.
But
That's scary. To
But
have your-
hey, he had a bowel movement, and so
that's all right.
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
happy. He does
mean,
not
I
like to
had-
talk about poop. I love it.
No,
I
it's
had 2 bowel
Okay.
movements the whole time I was
The
out
whole
there.
time.
in 32 days.
Yep.
And then when you got home, it was like or to a hotel or whatever.
It still was few and far between.
wow.
You know, it probably took 2 or 3 weeks for my body to be like, oh, okay, he's actually gonna eat every day now.
Yeah.
We can process it.
Yeah.
But when your body goes into survival mode, which what happens
yeah.
when you start starving, your body quits making excrement,
Mm-hmm.
and it literally processes it 2 or 3 times
Yeah.
till you get as much nutrients, bad or good, just nutrients in general.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it to where like you might be like, oh, I feel like I need to go poop, and you'll go try poop and you can't poop because
Yeah.
there's nothing there. Your body ate it all up.
Yeah. That's wild.
Was there anything that you were like surprised about when you watched the show from the first episode?
I was. So like I said, I knew how the show ended already,
Of course, yeah.
but I didn't know anything about the other camps.
Right.
I didn't know how the people left, especially Alpha.
Yeah.
And we did have an alliance with them, and unfortunately we didn't even know that they all left. The only person that we knew for sure was gone was Bio.
Mm-hmm.
And
And another gentleman, I forget his name now. I should know his name, but he hurt his back, right? He had to get
Zach.
There you go. He left. Obviously, he hurt his back, and then you had the other two team members, left. And I guess on the show, they were kind of like, oh, I guess we didn't have an alliance. But I mean, I would be sitting there going like, I don't know that it's up to you guys to like check on each other every single day. So you're trying to survive here. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
did you have any sort of like bullet point alliance checklist
Nope.
or anything? That's yeah,
No,
that was
I
what
mean, it was
imagined.
just,
Don't steal my stuff.
what, yep. Yeah. Let's just be fair to each other.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that'll be our alliance, and one of the deals of our alliance was, if one of us acquires a big game animal, whether it be a wolf or a deer,
Okay.
that we would share the wealth.
Yeah. Nice.
And we all kind of agreed, let's try to do like every 5 days, every 7 days, one of us make it to the other one's camp, because it was a long walk.
Yeah. How long was that?
I mean, it probably took every bit of 3 hours if you didn't stop.
Wow.
Okay.
We were pretty far apart. I mean, you
Wow.
could see the smoke from their campfire, but you couldn't hear them. You couldn't holler at each other,
Yeah.
And every team was provided a pair of binoculars. And even through the binoculars, I mean, you could see someone, but you wouldn't be able to tell who it was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like we
You didn't have their name come up on screen like we did.
we were separated big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even when you went over there, because when you had that first drop, and it was like it was the pallets,
Yeah.
right, and the netting and things like that, and you guys were like, "Hey, let's go over and talk to Alpha," right? Not realizing
Maybe they
weren't-
got our stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we were thinking is, maybe they got the supply drops mixed up.
right, because there was only a couple sleeping bags, right? Like
Yeah, we
sleeping
had
bags?
2 sleeping bags. And I
Yeah.
was like, you know what? Let's just go over there and check and see, maybe they got our sleeping bags. They might have 4. We got theirs.
sure,
And we would swap, we would swap supply drops. And that's when we found out that there was no more Alpha team.
and that's when you found out you had to bring that stuff back with you. You
Yeah.
might as
Yeah.
well.
And that was a task in itself, to carry all their stuff back all the way to our camp.
Yeah. Especially being tired and
Yeah.
hungry, dehydrated.
Well, now knowing that it was 3 hours, not 3 minutes on TV.
Yeah.
Just a quick little jaunt. Can you talk about what it was like when you made the phone call to your wife?
It was very emotional, is what I'll
bet.
call it.
What was her reaction? Was she just like,
So like
shut the front door?
I tried to really play it off to, and I wasn't allowed to just call everybody,
Mhm.
and say, be
Right.
like, hey, like I did it, I won. But I was allowed to tell my immediate family.
Okay.
So like my parents, my brothers, and my wife.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even tell my children, because
kids talk
kids talk.
They go to
Yeah.
school.
They,
and-
yep, they don't understand the fact of like,
in
you
India.
can't say anything.
no spoilers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I called my wife, I really put it off to her, and she was super supportive of this entire journey that I did.
Yeah.
And when I told her, I was like, hey, like I'm getting pretty far in this interview process. I think I might get picked. She was like, well, if you get picked, you better go out there and show them who you are.
Yeah.
Do your best. Win or lose, do your best. And I'm going to support you, and I'll hold it down here at the house. Don't be one of those guys that go out there and cry to the camera saying, I miss my wife. She said, don't be one of those guys. I want you to know
Your wife's awesome.
my wife is a beast, dude.
Yeah.
And she will hold it down for me always, always.
Kudos to her.
I love it.
Speaking of crying to the camera, like how much of your day, like I'm assuming you're like trying to find food or you're trying to keep the fire going. How many times are the producers or whatever going like, no, we need to do an interview with you, Drake, and you got to talk about the recap of what happened an hour ago.
Just every couple days.
Oh,
Oh,
okay,
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 that's not
okay.
Yeah, they didn't restrict us a whole lot.
and they
Okay.
weren't like eating like cheeseburgers in front of y'all or anything.
No.
My gosh, that would be terrible.
They're like, hey, Drake, can you come over here?
That
Nom,
would
nom,
make
nom.
me be
Yeah.
over there in the background and be like, just some crumbs.
Yeah.
Just drop it. Just,
Can I
just let
lick
me
the
sit here and
wrapper?
Tell us
smell
how
it.
hungry you are. What are you saying? Okay. Okay.
That's
so,
when
okay.
you'd lose your cool and like go ham on everyone.
What's next for you, man? Like, I mean, are you gonna?
Oh yeah, would you go back for like if they did like a All Stars cast?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I would go back, and hopefully I'll do it again and take home the win again. And, whenever I first got out of the woods, I was asked that question, hey, would you come back? And I was like, hell no. I did it already. Why would I come back?
Like, I won this.
I did it. And now it's, I've had a lot of time back at home and I'm back at work and living my normal life again. And I'm like,
I could do it
give me
again.
another shot at the piece of a million.
Yeah.
Plus the experience,
Right.
like I said, I had the time of my life out there. Like I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot, like, granted, I do work in the oil field and I do have those long mornings. I worked all day today.
Yeah.
I made it to my son's football game, but I was up at 5 this morning on a Saturday
Yeah.
out in the field.
If you don't know what's happening in Midland, Texas, some of the hardest working people in the country,
For
for
real.
sure. And Drake is a testament to that.
And would you do it again with Drew?
I would only do it if I had Drew.
Y'all were a great team. How's he doing? Is he?
He's doing great.
Yeah.
He's back to his normal life now, and he's a party boat owner. He owns a party boat company in Austin. It's called the Party Goat.
Party
Okay.
goat.
And when he told me this business idea, I was flabbergasted. We were in the woods, and I was like, so we were all talking about, what's everybody's professions? What does everyone do?
Sure.
And Drew was like, man, I don't necessarily have a job. Like, I own a party boat company where I rent out my pontoon boats. And I was like, that's what's up. And he was like, yeah, it's called the Party Goat. And I was like the greatest of all time goat. And he was like, no, like the animal. And I was like, okay, like what the heck? And he was like, so what I do is I partnered with a goat breeder in Austin and I rent out my party boats and I put baby goats on the pontoon boats with the people.
Aw,
And I was like, dude, that is awesome. And
I love goats.
after we got out of the woods and stuff, I've searched him up on social media and we still talk every single day.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's great.
we have since we came home.
He seemed like a genuinely really nice guy.
He is a great person and he does a lot for his community and for his family, and he has a heart of gold.
Shout out to Drew,
But
especially Party Goat. Go check it out.
he FaceTimed me the other day and he was on his boat. He had 6 baby goats on his boat. And
Oh.
I was like, dude, I am peanut butter and jealous. Like, I want to go hang out with some baby goats,
Right.
man.
So now that it's obviously out and everybody knows you've won, what was the response for, like, back at work or the extended family and things like that? Like, how's it been so far?
So all my friends and family are just ecstatic. It's all just congratulations. Like you're a badass. You actually went out there and did it. And I did have to tell my work and stuff about it before I left because I told them like I'll be gone. I don't know. I can't tell you when I'm going to
Sure.
come back.
Mm-hmm.
And I did end up having to quit my job
Okay.
to be able to go out there. And I didn't get that job back when I came back.
Oh no.
Just unfortunate circumstances with the media and stuff like that. And they
Yeah.
didn't want to be part of it. So I found a different job. But my new job didn't know anything about it until I was allowed to announce that I participated. And then, a month later, I was allowed to announce, like, hey, it's out. And then a week later, I was allowed to announce, like, did you watch it? Have you seen it yet? Like, and I knew, when all my coworkers, they would go home and be like, I started it. I started the show. And I was like, awesome, dude. Like, that's awesome. A couple days later, they'd see me again and be like, dude. And I'm like, you finished it. You watched the whole thing.
I know we were on pins and needles, man, because I forgot that they were not going to drop all 8 episodes at the same time. And
Yeah.
we watched the first 6 on the same night.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, Wednesday, the last 2. And so I was like, he's still in. I was like, I was like, this is,
I was like, I think he's gonna win this shit. Like,
Yeah.
I think they're gonna do it.
so
the news got out fairly quick after last Wednesday.
Yeah.
Uh,
I did not. I
Facebook-
made it a point not to look.
Facebook and Instagram blew up.
Yeah.
And most of my family, even like I have a lot of family up north. That's
Okay.
where my family's all from, is from South Dakota. And most of them, they watched the first 6 episodes. And then as soon as the last 2 episodes came out, it was aired at midnight on Wednesday, which I have family all over the country.
Yeah.
Midnight on Wednesday Pacific time.
Yeah.
So it's 2 a.m. our time. I have a little brother that lives in Georgia. It's 3 a.m. his time.
Yeah.
But my family that lives over on, the California coast, they knew about it 2 hours before the rest of my family did, posting it on Facebook and stuff. And my other family members are like, thanks, you
Way
ruined
to
it
go.
for me.
spoiler
so
alerts, they'll get you, man.
What was the first meal you had when you could finally have real food?
So I told my wife, like, the last 2 weeks I was out there, that's what we would do. It was dark half the time we were in
Yeah.
there, dark 12 hours a day. and we would lay in the shelter, and Drew and I would just talk about food, and Sammy talked about food, and that was mainly one of our conversations every single day was like, oh, I want this, like I can't wait to get home and have this. My thing was my wife's homemade chicken and dumplings,
Ooh.
Nice.
so I like dreamed about it the last couple weeks I was out there. When I told my wife, hey, like I will be home this day at this time, my plane lands. And she's like, okay, what do you want to eat? So I had her make me chicken and dumplings, but my body was craving sugar still.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't have any sugar while I was out there. And so I told her, I was like, I need you to bake as well. And she was like, okay, what do you want? And she made me an apple pie, a peach cobbler, homemade cookies, homemade mixed berry muffins,
You hear that, Tera? Man.
chicken and dumplings,
You don't like pie.
garlic bread.
Dang.
Wow.
Like I had a feast when I got home, and I ate until I had food coming out of my ears and I got
Yeah.
sick.
You're back on the everything diet temporarily.
For a couple days, I was on my everything diet again.
Yeah.
I think Drake and Drew should have their own survival show or outdoor show or something like that. Like,
That's the dream.
yeah,
You
that'd be
know,
awesome.
Like I really want to continue to do the TV thing. I want to go on I would like to keep doing the survival thing or the outdoor thing. If not, then I would still even like to do, regular shows,
Yeah.
I would like to go on Yellowstone. I'm a huge fan of Yellowstone. I would like to go be a cast member on there.
Nice.
Or, there's a lot of people who start their TV journey on a reality show. And
Sure.
then they get put on, like a sitcom like Friends or something,
Yeah.
and they make a whole career out of it. I got to slow my body down a little bit or it's going to start giving out on me fairly quick.
Yeah.
I've broken a lot of bones. I've had a lot of surgeries. I'm glad my body held up the way it did while I was in Alaska. I wasn't sure that it would. But working in the oil field doesn't do it any justice either,
No, it's hard work.
It's wearing me down.
do you have an IMDb page? Are you considering like getting an agent or anything? Like, I mean,
I'm looking.
okay.
I'm looking for an agent. I still have to, I'm plan on getting a financial advisor.
Good.
And trying to make sure I don't just screw off all my money.
Mhm.
I want to be smart with it.
Sure,
and,
yeah.
and do right by it. I want to do right by my family by it.
Mhm.
We live a fairly good life now. The oil field has provided,
Mhm.
and I'm getting a lot of backlash from social media and people. I've gotten almost 1,000 messages, just people just hating on me. My wife's getting backlash. There, people are messaging her.
But why? But I
saying
mean, based on what?
the Sammy thing. We're talking about how, the whole time I talked about integrity and this and that, and then the Sammy thing went down and
Yeah.
threw it all out the window. But
I mean, he
it is what it
looked
is.
like he was hurting.
He was struggling.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, he was definitely.
He lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, he looked like skin and bones.
Yeah.
But listen, at the end of the day, I think people have to understand that like there's a lot of editing that goes on. Even with us, right? Like we put out a podcast, we might have a clip of something for 30 seconds worth of clip, right? You don't
Right.
get all the context. You don't know what was leading up to the
Yeah.
clip. You don't know how it ended.
happened after.
You just get a little bit of
I'm taking it all pretty well, man.
sure. Don't read the
But,
comments. I mean, that's always
they need to leave your wife alone.
I'm
because
reading all
what
the
does
comments.
she have
I'm
to do with
loving
it?
all the comments.
okay. Good. All right.
Just to prove to everybody, like, bro, I got thick skin.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Nothing nobody says is gonna hurt my feelings. The only
Good.
people in this world that can hurt my feelings are my wife and my kids, and
Yeah.
they are more than proud of me.
Good.
Well, listen, man. We wish you the best of luck, man. We're so proud of you. I mean, it was so exciting to watch you on television and obviously get to meet you today in person. Wish the best of luck for you, man. I hope you become the next Bear Grylls or something, man. Like out
Oh.
there,
Yeah,
survival
I'm
style.
shooting for it.
I heard you were telling me your social media is like blowing up since the show. Obviously, like keep it going, right?
Yeah.
I would like to. Yeah, I mean, I had no social media presence before all this happened,
Yeah.
and I gained thousands of followers in the past
Now
few
it's going
days.
viral.
And
Well, we, like I said, I mean, we're here. We're always looking to promote entrepreneurs and business owners and personalities here in Midland. And, this whole podcast and our Best of Midland's all about the positivity. So
cool.
if there's anything, anytime you want us to promote or anything you've got going on, man, it's open door policy. You can come here anytime.
Sweet.
And we'd love to have you back sometime, man. But
Yeah, of course.
Terry, did you have any other burning questions?
No, but I think you and your wife should do Amazing Race.
Oh, there you go. If you haven't watched the show, well, now's your time, but
It's
spoiler
so
alert.
good.
It's so good. Season 2, watch Drake, watch Drew, Texas Connection, Outlast season 2, Netflix, and we'll see you next time. All right, bye.